A chord is a group of 3 or more different notes played at the same time. We make chords with our left hand and we play them with our right. Before we start making these positions with our left hand, let's look at how we hold the neck of the guitar and where we're going to put our thumb to support our fingers. To get a good idea on where and how to place your left hand, put the guitar face down on your lap, like I have it. Now, put your thumb, just rest it on the back of the neck, just naturally. Then take your fingers and put them on the fretboard, on the fingerboard of the guitar, just naturally. You see my thumb rolls a little bit when I put my fingers flat. Okay, do you have it? Now, let's put the guitar back in position without moving our left hand. Just keep it where it is. And when you see that, generally speaking, that's really good position. Let me show you one more time. My thumb isn't holding the neck. My hand isn't gripping the neck. I'm on the back of the neck with my thumb and my fingers are just placed very naturally on the fingerboard. Then I raise the guitar and my fingers are right there and my thumb isn't over like this at all. It's here. Now let me get you another look at another angle on how we place our hand. Now you can see that I'm not grabbing the neck. I'm not really holding it really tightly. I have space between my fingers and my thumb isn't way up above. It can be showing a little bit. It might help you grip, but not up here and never like this. Okay? That's a good space in between here to leave, because the thumb really supports the fingers. And once again, you can go back if you're not getting this idea and just work with this idea when you need to, because you're going to be changing chords and the thumb is going to be moving and your elbow is going to be moving a little bit, but you want to leave a little space. If you grab the neck like this or like this, really it's going to be really difficult to play and change chords. So let's learn our first chord, which is called A. Now the A chord is going to be made by taking your first finger and putting it on the second fret, or just behind the second fret of the D string. Your second finger on your left hand will be just behind the second fret of the G string, and your third finger is just behind the second fret of the B string, and that's all. Now, these fingers won't be able to be lined up directly parallel to the fret, but that's just how we play the guitar. We have to find a way to make a really nice sound by putting the fingers as close as we can to the fret, naturally. Now, I'm going to be strumming down with my thumb on my right hand, like that. Now, let's give it a try. First finger, second finger, third finger. Ready, go. Now let's try it, one string at a time. Here we go. Together. Now you're going to have to be careful not to inhibit the strings by having your fingers falling over to the sides. You kind of got to come down on it in a perpendicular sort of way. Okay? The A chord. Now let's take a graphical look at it in what we call a chord diagram. This is a chord diagram, or sometimes called a chord block diagram. You see the line going down on the left side, and that's your low E string. The next line next to it, going down, is the A string, and the next line, where you put your first finger on the second fret, is the D string, then the G, then the B, and then the last string on the right going down is the high E string, or the first string. The line going across on the top is the nut of the guitar, where the strings go over to begin going on the neck. The second line going across is the first fret. The third line is the second fret, and that's where you put your fingers. The first finger is on the D string, second fret. Second finger on the G string, second fret. And the third finger on the B string, second fret. You see that this chord diagram explains the A chord in theory, because our fingers don't fit directly across right along with the fret. We have to make a few adjustments. That's the A chord. Now let's try to play it together. We're going to strum down with the thumb, and we're going to make the chord with our left hand, not really gripping the neck or putting the thumb up the neck. Okay, here we go. Let's strum down together. Ready? Go. One string at a time. Good. Now practice the A chord and memorize it, and we're going to learn the D chord. Now the D chord is made by putting your first finger just behind the second fret of the G string. Your second finger just behind the second fret of the high E string, and your third finger just behind the third fret of the B string. You're not going to play the low E string here. Not at all, because it's not part of the chord. So when we strum, we're going to strum the last 5 strings starting on the A string. So let's give it a try. Ready? Go. Again. Now let's try it one string at a time. The D chord. Now make sure this finger doesn't fall down and accidentally touch here. This is called inhibiting the strings or blocking the strings. You got to be real careful not to block the strings. Might take a little time, but be very, very patient with yourself. Always go slow. Take your time. Let's look at the chord diagram of D. Now the D chord on the diagram looks like this. You can see I've X'd out that low E string on the left there. Your first finger's on the second fret of the G string. Your third finger's on the third fret of the B string. And your second finger's on the second fret of the high E string. Remember not to play the low E. So you can see that these chord diagrams are as if you're facing the neck of the guitar. That's D. Now let's try it together. Here we go. Ready? Now. One string at a time. Good. That's the D chord. Now we're going to learn one more chord, the E chord. Now the E chord is made by putting your first finger just behind the first fret of the G string. Second finger, second fret, A string, and third finger, second fret, D string. Now make sure these fingers don't fall over and your thumb's way up here like this. Take it real easy, make a nice arc in your hand, and let's try the E chord. Ready? Go. Good. Let's look at the chord diagram of E. Now here's a look at the E chord. You can see the low E is open, and then your second finger goes on the second fret of the A string. Your third finger is on the second fret of the D string, and your first finger is on the first fret of the G string. And that's it. Now let's try the E chord together. First finger, second finger, third finger. Here it is. Now one string at a time. Make sure each string has a good and open sound. Now make sure to practice each of these chords one at a time. Work on A, get it really right, get it without inhibiting other strings. Sounds good, arc in your hand is good. And then work on D for a while. Give D some time. Then give E some time. Really get each chord and start to practice changing a little bit. See if you can change in a slow beat. And just strum down with your thumb like we were doing. Okay? So you make sure to practice this lesson really well.